Grand Rising, beautiful collective. Grand evening, whatever time it is for you. So I have a very important message and transmission for you guys today. I'm going to start by cleansing the space with a beautiful figure 8. This Palo Santo, cleansing away any distortion, any negative energies, negative projections, negative entities, negative frequencies that might be being sent towards this message to distort this message. Only light may remain, only truth may remain, only clarity may remain. Ashe. So, walk by faith, not by sight. Many of you are well acquainted with that divine request. I want to break down exactly what that means and how you can see the physical manifestation of this happening around you currently. Now, I am filming this video on April 6th, 2026. At the time of this message, that is the date, but this message is timeless, and I do hope that it reaches exactly who it is meant to reach in the perfect timing, aligned with the grand design and cosmic unfolding of your experience. So, walk by faith, not by sight. As I've stated many times, Earth is a school. There are many tests, there are many trials, there are many tribulations, and there is a lot of data, knowledge, wisdom, and information that can be pulled from these experiences. That is the whole point of this earth plane and this earth school. Through these tests that we are gifted, we gain wisdom and knowledge. And all of this is happening for us to help aid in our conscious evolution and help aid in a deeper connection to source and therefore a deeper connection to self. Because you are just a simple mirrored fractal reflection of the all. Of all that is. So, when I hear walk by faith, not by sight, I know that that is a passage from the Bible. I actually receive and perceive this message as being very prophetic, a prophecy that is currently playing out. It is a test being given by the Most High teacher of this earth school, of this earth plane. The assignment, the divine assignment, is being gifted to everyone on the planet, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of whether or not you are connected to source, regardless of your demographic, your background, or what is occurring in your experience. This is an assignment, a divine assignment that is gifted to everyone in the collective currently, irregardless of which collective you are a frequential match to. Irregardless of which timeline you are on, this is a macro, cosmic, divinely guided assignment. Now, I want to touch on how I channel a little bit so that this next part of the message will make a little bit more sense on how I was able to make this connection and how I was able to recognize this pattern so that I could then share it with you all. Now, as someone who does recognize patterns, I've had to do a lot of work, inner work, to be able to objectively observe without absorbing anything. Now, what that looks like is me sitting in a space of neutrality and liminality. I sit in between polarities so that I can consciously observe all things and pull the data, only the data, in this liminal space. When I am in this objective observer space, I do not hold any judgment on what I am observing. I have no preconceived notions. I do not allow my own beliefs or experiences to influence this perceptual lens. The lens must be clear and unobstructed by my own judgments, preconceived notions. It must be devoid of any of those things. It must just be, right? So I sit in this place of neutrality, of liminality, and I can observe and watch and hear many things. I can allow many things into my eye gates, into my ear gates, into my mind's eye, but I only observe. And the only thing I pull from what it is I am observing is data. It is the codes, the codes that exist within all frequencies, all energies, all experiences, all people, all places, and all things. Now, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I will say that it's taken a lot of inner work to get to the point where I can fully and wholly observe without absorbing. But because I'm neurodivergent, it was pertinent for me this was a pertinent thing that I had to master so that my mental, emotional, and spiritual health and well-being could stay intact, so that I can remain temperance while taking in all of this data, all of these codes, all of this information. So, I watch, I observe a lot of things, both here on the Ethernet, interweb, the collective pool of information here, and in my external 3D environment. Everyone I meet, everything I connect with, everything I see, I've been doing this for quite some time, so now it's something that happens automatically. In the beginning of this type of code collection, I guess I'll call it, divine algorithm maxing, I used to have to consciously observe without absorbing. But now it's just something that I do automatically. So now that that's out of the way, I am going to move on to the lesson that we've all been gifted. Walk by faith, not by sight. Now, there are a lot of things being sold to you, being offered to you in the media, on your phone, and in your interpersonal and macro life and relationships. There are a lot of frequencies that are being sold to you. Now, if you are someone who has watched any of my previous videos, frequency matching is what timeline jumping or timeline shifting is. You see, the way that it has been shown to me, the way that I enter over and understand it through working very closely with Archangel Metatron, with that energy, actually a lot of the things that I channel, a lot of the things that I see in my dream state and my waking state are direct messages from Metatron. It is very much data. It is very much patterns. It is very much the grand design that I'm shown in increments and sometimes all at once, and that can be a lot. So I want you to envision Metatron's cube for a moment. Now, I've had conversations with people in my personal life about Metatron's cube, and people have the tendency to try to deduce it just to the tree of life. Or not the tree of life, sorry, the flower of life pattern. Yes, it is the flower of life pattern, but that is if you are looking at it from a 2D or 3D perspective. Let me tell you what happens within the cube. If we are looking at Metatron's cube from a 4D or 5D perspective, there are so many frequencies, timelines, and experiences happening, superimposed on one another. It is a vast network of timelines, aka frequencies. When you meet people in your external life and experience, when you see people, both on whether that be online or just out in the world, it is an interesting and curious thing to keep in mind that you are observing multiple timelines play out, multiple realities happening around you. You see, what timeline shifting and timeline jumping is, it's not as woo-woo and, out there as many who would love to keep people confined and minds bound, would try to make it out to be. It is simply frequency matching. When you shift your frequency, you match with a different experience, with a different outcome, with a different level of understanding. And so because of that, you move differently. And because you are moving differently and consciously expressing differently the things that manifest in your experience, the world around you also changes because you have changed. And so the actions you take have also changed. And so the fruit that you yield from those changed actions and that changed frequency and that changed level of consciousness and that changed level of awareness, it births or the fruits you harvest look completely different than the ones that you harvested when you were matching with a different frequency. Frequency and timelines are the same thing, okay? That's at least from what I've seen, and I've been inside of Metatron's cube. I feel like I exist there most of the time. That is the liminal space that I am in 9 times out of 10. I like to exist between the polarities because it is from that space that I can see both. And if you can see both potentials of anything and sit in that space of neutrality and liminality, then the frequencies you can attune to and the data points that you can pull and the information and knowledge that you can gain is exponential and pretty boundless and infinite. Oh, my stream of tangents. Back on topic, I get back on topic. Okay, so when we think of people selling you a dream, selling you things, we often think of physical things. Yeah, there are a lot of people on the internet here who are trying to sell you a master class, sell you their art, sell you their books, sell you their creations, or sell you an illusion and a dream. But let's break that down a little bit, down to the frequency, because I want you to recognize why this assignment, this divine assignment of walking by faith and not by sight has been given, and how the test is unfolding. So I'm sharing this information so you can recognize the test and so you can pass this divine test, because I want us all to win. I want us all to ascend. I want us all to connect, detach and connect. So you are connected to everything, attached to nothing, and you can match to the frequency that you desire for your experience. What is aligned for you? Your highest good, which will also be in the best interest and the highest good of others. And that is what I want from the Depths of my heart space. Open heart chakra. I want that for all of us. So there are also people, there are also energies working through people that are trying to, the intention is to sell you a frequency. And if someone is selling you a frequency, they are trying to get you to go into agreement with a timeline, a very specific timeline. Now, I want you to know that you hold all the power here, because you are the key. You are the key to your destiny. You are the key to unlocking and matching with other frequencies. But because we live in a very dualistic, reality, there's always going to be density, right? To get through. It's part of the test, It wouldn't be an assignment and it wouldn't be a test if it was easy, right? So, the reason why earlier I shared with you guys how I objectively observe is because it has been my experience and it is my understanding that this is if you can do the inner work to reach the space where you can objectively observe without judgment, without preconceived notion, without absorbing, but just observe, just assess, without, that is one of the ways, one of the roads that you can take to passing this test. With AI, I've been watching, I've heard from many people here in the spiritual community and just many people in general that are like, you can't tell what's real and what's not anymore. Everything can be manipulated and created with AI. Like, I don't know what's a psyop. I don't know what's real. That's the point. There are two ways to look at the whole AI debacle. And the choice is yours on how you perceive this. I've chosen the latter, and I'll explain why that is. But some people are stating like, oh, they're trying to use AI to confuse everyone, and so nobody can trust, what they see, and no one can trust themselves. Correct, they are. That is part of the test. That is part of the test of walking by faith and not by sight. Even if it is something, a test or an experience being gifted to you by the dark collective, the lower vibrational polarities, it's still happening for you. And it's still something that is orchestrated by the Most High Mother, Father, Source, God of all. It's still following a grand design, and it all is happening for you, not to you. I promise. I've seen it, okay? That is the test, right? In a time when you can't trust anything you see because of AI, because of the ability to deepfake videos, to take people's voices and make them say whatever you want them to say, to take people's likeness and put them in compromising positions and situations that they never were in, to create fake text messages, to create fake receipts, to all of these things, right? It would be really helpful when we are being met with all of this illusion, walking by faith and not by sight. You know how you walk by faith and not by sight? By strengthening your discernment. You know how you strengthen your discernment? It's simple, really. By trusting yourself. You see, faith is trust. That's what it is. So, to pass this test, this divine test that has been gifted to everyone on the planet, we are to simply trust ourselves. Trust God. If you trust yourself fully, you fully trust God. Truly. There is a very intrinsic connection there that cannot be severed or broken unless you compromise it yourself. I'm telling you, you hold all the keys. to your destiny, no one can stop, block, bind, trap, disconnect you unless you go into agreement with that experience. And that is what I'm saying. There are a lot of individuals, both in your interpersonal life and here on the internet, that are trying to sell you a frequency, which means they are trying to sell you a timeline. They're trying to get you to go into agreement with a set of circumstances and events. And guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to go into agreement with anything that is out of alignment with your highest good, that is out of alignment with what the experience you want to see unfold in your life. You don't have to go into agreement with the things that you observe. You don't. You can just simply observe them. It's an option. And the way that you do this is by simply observing. Stepping out of the confines and the comforts of the ego and just looking at things, you know? You don't have to form an opinion right away or take a stance, you know? You can just look at things. It's an option that's there, it's available, and it might just be a really helpful tool in passing this test of strengthening and building discernment. I will say that in sitting in this liminal space, sitting between all the polarities, just being and observing, patterns start to emerge, right? That's that Metatron, the Metatron in me, right? Patterns will start to emerge. If you can just observe, right? Don't go into agreement with things that feel unaligned, that don't resonate, right? Don't go into agreement with those things. Don't try to make these things fit. You will pull just the data, just the bones, basically, the bones of it, not the fluff, not the air, just the seed. You'll pull the seed, the code of it, of whatever it is you're observing, and you'll just store it. It's not going to affect you. It's not going to do anything to you, to your frequency, to what you're experiencing, to what you are aligning with, but you just collect the data set. And when you start collecting enough of these data sets, a pattern emerges, and then the pattern eventually comes to completion, and therein you know what to do with the information and the knowledge and the data that you've collected. Should you step forward or should you step away? Should you surrender or should you connect? You know? These things become very clear when you just allow in the truth, right? You can just objectively just look at things, at yourself, at others, at what it is, you know. You can start to see the frequency of intention. And when you can see the frequency of intention, then it makes it really easy to discern on whether that frequency is what you're wanting to align with, and whether that is a timeline that you're wanting to go into agreement with. There are a lot of people there are a lot of energies on the planet right now trying to convince you of many things, many things. And you're right, you can't trust your eyes, right? You can't trust what you see because there's so much distortion and desperation from a certain collective, a collective that thrives and built this entire false matrix off of illusion, off of psychological operations, off of brainwashing and manipulation and, trick of the hand, look here, not here, look anywhere but there, you know? There's a lot of that going on because they're freaking out because the time for unintegrated shadow is gone, and you have all these people who are operating and being driven by nothing but unintegrated shadows. So, they're grasping at straws here, and things reach this high entropy point, this point of just, before, the cells and whatever, the body, the atoms, chill out And then something's formed from that, you know? Once the atoms stop exciting, you can form some, or we can look at that in a different way, dual potential. The more the atoms excite, the more we create solidity. Think of everything. Everything you touch and feel is just a bunch of atoms vibrating at different speeds and different frequencies. What you perceive as being solid is only solid because the atoms that make up this table and the atoms that make up my hand and the vibrations that they are resonating or are vibrating at are different. So we can't, you know? So it creates this barrier, this little space in between, and it is in that space in between where you can objectively observe. So I didn't even know that I was going to make that metaphorical connection, but here we are. I do hope that this video finds who it is meant to. I hope that it resonates. Because that is the test. You're right. We can't trust anything we see. What will this... I mean, it's really like a force of hand by God, right? In order to survive this next cycle without getting trapped in past cycles or without causing harm to your body, mind, or your spirit or your soul, if you can't trust what you're seeing, trust yourself, trust what you know, trust your intuition, trust your inner guidance, because that inner guidance is truth, and that inner guidance is connected to source, the source of all creation, right? So, you know, we can't trust our eyes, trust our eye. The I that is connected to the I am, right? If you can't trust your mind because it's under attack by all of these illusions and psyops, trust your heart. Yeah, it's an option. It's there. I just find it really, I don't know, I think it's really intriguing and really interesting the way that these things play out. And we read these things, prophetic messages from a past starseed from long ago who shared these many truths, right? And here we are circling right back to them. Walk by faith, not by sight, which means trust yourself, trust God, trust in the cosmic unfolding of your life, trust your intuition, trust that inner compass, trust that inner guidance, trust your heart. It knows which way to go. The way that will lead you to the highest frequential timeline. I promise I can speak. Your highest good, your highest truth. And if it is the highest of good for you, it will also be the highest good for others. Because so many of you hold so many things, so many beautiful gifts, so many beautiful testimonies, so many beautiful truths live in you that are just waiting to flow into the collective whole, right? So that's the message. Just walk by faith, not by sight at this time, because you really can't trust anything that you're seeing at this time. And you can't really trust many of the things you're hearing either. But you can trust yourself. The key, the blueprint to passing this divine assignment is you. You are the key. If you can't trust what's happening out here, trust what's happening in here. If you need more clarity of what's happening out here, gain more clarity of what's happening in here, and it will be done. As within, so without. If you feel disconnected from your discernment, do some self-exploration and try to figure out what it is in you what illusions, what self-deceptions, what self-betrayals, what self-abandonments are occurring, and heal those aspects by change behavior, by loving yourself, by meeting them with non-judgment from that liminal space, right? With non-judgment, with clarity, with just objectivity, and pour love into those parts. Stop abandoning yourself. Stop self-deceiving. Stop disconnecting. I don't know. I promise, doing that work, that inner work, it changes your perceptual lens. It clears it up. There's a lot of foggy lenses right now. And, the only way to cleanse these foggy lenses that we see through outside of ourselves is by going within and clearing it up there first. As you do it within, it happens in tandem with out. In the out. So, I am going to stop rambling. Well, I'm not really rambling. I need to stop saying that. I'm not rambling. I am sharing a sacred transmission, Metatron transmission. I love you guys so very much. I do hope that this helped. I hope that it finds who it is meant to find in exactly the time it is meant to find you, aligned with divine time and the grand design and cosmic and unfolding of your beautiful, expansive, consciously creative experience. I love you, and thank you for taking the time to be open and receptive to this message. I'm sending you all so much love to the universe and beyond.